B-2 stealth bombers just flew insane missions deep into Iran, hammering dozens of deeply buried Iranian ballistic missile sites with 2,000-pound penetrator bombs. This is part of Operation Epic Fury, and this is straight up B-2 air power dominance, long-range missions, stealth penetration, and precision strikes that have already slashed Iran's missile barrages by around 90%. We're talking about crippling one of their biggest threats before the Patriots, Arrow interceptors, all the different interceptor weapons across the Gulf have to intercept these ballistic missiles. And Iran's tactic is saturation tactics, so they want to overwhelm those interceptor missiles as best they can. But down 90% is massive. And the B-2 has a lot to do with that. They've been striking hardened ballistic missile bunkers. So seeing Iran's underground bunkers is nothing new. They've showed those off for a long time, but a lot of those have gone bye-bye. Just yesterday, seeing CENTCOM Commander Admiral Cooper talk about actual missions that went down on March 5th. And not just ballistic missile sites are being struck. It looks like a leadership bunker has been struck as well, severely degrading the leadership ability of Iran to have any type of command and control. And the IDF released a bombshell video. So we're going to review what Admiral Cooper said, and we're going to review an actual diagram of that bunker itself. So this is Admiral Cooper, the CENTCOM commander. Let's listen to some of these breaking updates. This video was just released yesterday on March 5th in the afternoon. So let's see what he has to say here.
As described by the Secretary and earlier this week by me, U.S. combat power is building as Iranian combat power declines. Our air dominance allows us to hit Iran's center of gravity with overwhelming power and reach. A couple of examples. In just the last 72 hours, America's bomber force has struck nearly 200 targets deep inside of Iran, including around Tehran. And in just the last hour, U.S. B-2 bombers dropped dozens of 2,000-pound penetrator bombs targeting deeply buried ballistic missile launchers. Notably, we've also struck Iran's equivalent of Space Command, which degrades their ability to threaten Americans.
So as you guys can see, massive operation going down deep within Iran now. So not just the outskirts, not standoff weapons, but actually bombers specifically focused on Tehran. And then check this out. This is very interesting. This is from open source intel, and this is likely what happened during some of those bombing strikes. Not 100% confirmed, but I want you to watch this. This was released by the IDF. Okay, so let's take a peek at this. This is a bunker in the heart of Iran. Believe that it is in Tehran, but it's a leadership bunker, so let's check this out. Senior Iranian regime officials remained in this bunker thinking it was impenetrable. 50 fighter jets struck the facility with over 100 munitions, destroying it in a blow that significantly cripples the regime's capabilities. So it looks to be a leadership bunker struck by 100 munitions. It's just amazing to me how the IDF, Mossad, they have all of these different diagrams to show exactly how these bunkers work, how they're connected, the vent shafts, showing how leadership gets down into them. I mean, this is a bad day for Iranian leadership. Just the fact that all these different plans are out there. So this could have been one of the sites that was struck from what the Admiral was talking about, striking deep targets inside of Tehran. They even know what photos are on the wall. It's just wild. So there's like a mini command center for the regime. So as you guys can see, the gloves are off. Iranian leadership isn't safe anywhere. So the B-2 gives no apologies, just results. Stick around to the very end because we'll talk about the targets that are being hit, the weapons that make it possible, and then we'll run through a realistic chain reaction scenario of where things go from here as Iran tries to strike back hard as well. So here's some of the breaking news happening right now. This is from Al Jazeera, and they said Iran targets Israeli embassy in Bahrain, Al Udeid, and airbase in Qatar. So they're kind of hinting at the fact that the US and the Gulf allies weren't ready for this. And if you look at the history of Al Jazeera, I mean, they've aligned with a lot of kind of shady organizations. The Muslim Brotherhood, that's someone that they've aligned with, and they kind of have an anti-Western spin in a lot of their reporting. So they're kind of trying to say that, yeah, you guys weren't prepared for this. Well, at the end of the day, if you look at how much the missile strikes are going down, 90% decrease in missile strikes since day one, and then an 83% decrease from drone strikes. Now, we're also seeing Iran step up strategic hits so they can fire a lot less, but they're being more strategic. So they're actually trying to hit petroleum, oil, lubricants, energy production facilities, and it looks like they've actually been successful in hitting one in Bahrain. Reports are still coming in on that. And as you can see, Iran is targeting the different US consulates in the area and also the Israeli consulates in the area. Again, they're just trying to cause mayhem across the entire region. But these B-2 bombers likely launched from Whiteman Air Force Base, and they flew that long-haul mission dropped variant of GBU-31s with Bluey 109. The BLU-109 is a warhead that is perfect for hardened underground facilities. And the whole point there is to degrade Iran's ability to unleash large-scale ballistic missile attacks on Israel, on US forces, and regional partners. By hitting deeply buried launchers, storage caves, support gear, the B-2 is neutralizing their asymmetric edge big time. And reports confirm a sharp decline in those Iranian missiles and drones. Massive declines like we've talked about so far. This is proving that the strategy to plink off these different ballistic missiles, even if you've decided to bury them under steel, concrete, and earth, they are not off limits for those slight penetrator weapons of the B-2. And I say slight because we know the GBU-57 exists. That's that 30,000 pound penetrator weapon. So these are sites that aren't as deep as those nuclear facilities that have been hit. These are slightly less deep because, again, Iran's likely not storing any type of uranium in these. I mean, all bets are off when it comes to Iran, but they're focused on ballistic missiles being in these actual buried sites. So you just need to go down, just 20 feet or so, just a few feet, not a couple hundred feet, like what we saw with their uranium enrichment facilities. So if you think mobile shooters are mediocre, you haven't played this. These graphics are insane. This is actually me playing Urban Heat on my phone. Console level lighting and textures popping off the screen on mobile, and the whole vibe is fire. That early 2000s LA street energy mixed with sci-fi edge. It's gritty, vibrant, badass, and straight up addicting. The characters are next level as well. There's 20 of them, each with their own backstory, their own lines, unique drip, and personality. My favorite is Irish. He's former military, his weapons and attitude are next level. And as you can see, this gameplay is super smooth. This is actually me firing one of the weapons while I'm playing the game. No jitters, controls feel premium, guns hit hard and stay balanced in the fight. Every fight pulls you right back in. The flow is addictive. And this isn't another mobile cash grab. It's actually pushing the whole genre forward. Look, this is that rare early window before the whole scene catches on. Mobile shooters just got a massive glow up and you're seeing it right now. So don't be the one watching everyone else flex while you're left in the dust with the old stuff. So download Urban Heat using the link in the description or just scan this QR code right here. You'll instantly lock in that STA4 blueprint loaded with 5 enhanced modules plus $3,000 in game cash. That's over $30 worth of value. This exclusive is only through my link, and trust me, once it's gone, it's gone. So hit the link, jump in, and run the streets. But Iran's been bragging about these underground missile cities for years and their actual command and control underground bunkers that they say are impenetrable. Well, looks like that is not the case anymore. Seeing that leadership bunker being struck in the heart of an Iranian city is just showing that the gloves are off and the leadership really has no place they can go to for safe command and control. At this point, they're probably afraid to even be in the same room. But they've got vast tunnels, networks carved into mountains, housing short and medium range ballistic missiles like the Fatah, the Qam, and the Shahab series, plus mobile launchers, production equipment, and even direct launch setups through ceilings that open or automated systems. They've dispersed them to survive conventional hits, and that's their whole thing. Don't have a whole bunch in one massive underground facility, but have them spread out all around the country so they're a lot harder to take down, and then they can just wheel these things out and then blast them off and then hide as fast as they possibly can. With President Trump basically saying that the US military right now can strike the launchers within 4 minutes of a launch. So Iran's going to do their best to launch it off and then try to hide, get back into a cave, get back into an underground facility within 4 minutes. Now, it could be a lot better than 4 minutes. That might just be what's being released to the public, but that's Iran's main strategy. Pop that ballistic missile out, try to cause chaos, mayhem, target energy centers now, or consulates, just to cause chaos across the region. They've dispersed these things to survive those conventional hits, but intel and strikes are exposing the vulnerabilities of their ability to even hide these things at this point. Because the ISR, the intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, is next level over top of all of Iran right now, because air superiority has been established, especially in the southern part of Iran, where now you can just go in and strike targets with impunity, with bombers moving to more of a stand-in situation. So B-2's obviously the star of the show when it comes to bombers. I did a video on the B-52, and coming up here soon will be what the B-1 bomber is doing. I'll do a full video on that, so be on the lookout for that. But recent moves show that Iran is launching waves of ballistic missiles and drone retaliation, but the number and frequency is just declining extremely rapidly. And that volume crashing hard is thanks to these deep strikes that are sealing off entrances, collapsing tunnels, and bottling up Iran's arsenals so they can't be used. Satellite imagery from late February shows real damage at multiple sites, entrances cratered, complexes compromised. Even if not every missile is wiped out, if you can get as many of those ballistic missile launchers as possible, then you really degrade the ability where you don't even need to take out the missiles anymore. Originally, it said that they had 400 to 500 of these launchers and about 2,500 ballistic missiles. So if these launchers are plinked off in these underground sites, because likely Iran is hiding the launchers for the most part in the underground sites, because that's where they think they can protect them the best. But on the flip side, Iran is pushing back, targeting Gulf energy infrastructure. They hit the Babco refinery in Bahrain with a ballistic missile or potentially a drone as well, sparking a big fire that got contained, no casualties, limited damage. They also struck Saudi Arabia's massive Ras Tanura refinery multiple times, causing fires and some partial shutdowns. They tagged Qatar's Ras Laffan LNG plant, leading to temporary production halts and global supply disruptions. Plus, reports of hits on oil tankers in the Strait of Hormuz show that Iran is still an enemy that needs to be crushed. Fuel storage in Oman and UAE ports and other energy sites have been hit by Iran. These moves have jacked up oil and gas prices, showing Iran's trying to hit the world where it hurts economically, even as their missile launches and their ability to do this plummets. They probably see this as their last stand, so they're trying to get as many missiles off the rail as they possibly can. All right, but let's talk about those B-2s dropping dozens of 2,000-pound penetrators into buried launchers that Iran has to protect their different missile sites, straight up choking their ability to keep firing volume with those missiles. We're talking mountain-carved missile cities with vaults that could potentially be dozens of feet deep, or even more than that. But when it comes to the GBU-31, likely going after sites that are less than 100 feet deep. But when you drop 100 weapons on a certain site, you can definitely use those Bluey 109s to penetrate very deep and satisfy even the hardest targets. And this means collapsing tunnels, making sites inoperable. No need to erase every last round, really, just enough to shut down the entire site itself, shut down the vent shaft, and make it completely impossible to actually access the missiles. But the real shocker here is how fast their launch rate has cratered once the US and the B-2 bomber focused on buried infrastructure. Now Iran is lighting up refineries because they're basically frustrated. They're like, oh, this is our last shot. This is our last chance, because their ballistic missiles and their underground ballistic missiles, which they thought were safe, are being hit so hard. This means they've got fewer launchers, fewer surviving systems due to the air campaign that's systematically starving their retaliation machine, and that chaos won't last long if the US stays on the gas and these B-2s combined with the B-1s and the B-52s, historic amount of bombers dropping weapons, as long as that pressure continues to ramp up. And it just can't be understated how awesome it is that the B-2 can fly stealthy long-range missions from the heartland of the United States, evading defenses, delivering precision from high altitude. These missions highlight the American edge. GPS-guided GBU-31s with Bluey 109 penetrator bombs, and those have a hardened casing on the front that can punch through earth, rock, and reinforced concrete. Typically about 4 to 6 feet of concrete, or maybe even way deeper if it was just soil, before the delayed fuse sets it off. So it's punching through all this different material, and then the delayed fuse, which is still functional after punching through steel, concrete, and earth, it explodes about 500 pounds of tritonol, which is the warhead itself, generating a massive shockwave and overpressure to collapse tunnels and wreck everything within. Persistent intel drives target selection, stealth gets you in the door, and then seed. Suppression of enemy air defenses, for you acronym lovers, suppresses the remaining air defenses, and these deep strikes bottle up threats without needing to put boots on the ground. Hopefully, no boots on the ground or very limited boots on the ground. President Trump has been quoted as saying boots on the ground is a waste of time. Obviously, we don't want to repeat mistakes of the past from Iraq and Afghanistan, so hopefully this will be a much more surgical operation if the point comes where special teams need to be put on the ground. Allies like Israel are also hammering targets in parallel, but these strategic bombers, these B-2 bombers, they bring unmatched reach and power, proving why U.S. air dominance is unbeatable. These B-2s are sliding in deep and finishing strong. The goal here is smart application of American air power to force multiply destruction. That means hit the missile forces hard and early to reshape the battlefield, suppress launch capacity, and create breathing room for whatever comes next, whether regime pressure or other operations to take down the infrastructure of the IRGC. One of the strategies here looks to be degrade the enemy's decisive weapons before they can use them in volume, protect your own forces and allies, and maintain escalation control. While you ramp up, the enemy can't help but ramp down. The US and Israel's moves here are decisive, necessary, and leveraging superior intel, stealth, and precision to outthink and outfight. The goal is clear: suppress Iran's ability to threaten the region long term while avoiding unnecessary boots on the ground at this point. Prepare the battlefield, potentially for months. Prepare the battlefield before you put any Delta Forces, Navy SEALs, other special operators in a position where now they might be overwhelmed by some of the IRGC that's left over. So here's a realistic what-if situation if Iran continues to get desperate, which they likely will, after losing most of their launch capability. Likely they're going to try to activate more of their proxy network. Heavy Hezbollah barrages from Lebanon, Houthi drone swarms on shipping, maybe even IRGC attempts to mine or close the Straits of Hormuz with their guerrilla navy, because it looks like 30 of their ships from the Navy have been struck, and that's according to Admiral Cooper from CENTCOM. So Iran only now has the ability really to rely on their fast boats, which could try to mine the straits, but that will likely be struck down and taken out by Navy submarines and other naval assets in the area. Obviously, oil is going up at this point as people are a little uneasy, waiting for the full destruction on any ability of Iran to do anything to commercial shipping in the Straits of Hormuz. But air power is surging. Waves of additional B-2s, B-1s, B-52s, and F-35s, tactical aviation moving into the area, Tomahawks, precision-guided munitions ready to pulverize any remaining missile sites. Production facilities are also being targeted now. So not only the actual ballistic missiles, but the ability to produce them is now being struck on a whole new level. This surge is going to crank up the intensity while preparing the battlefield for what comes next. So what comes next is likely going to focus on rooting out the actual IRGC and any remnants of the old leadership structure of Iran. So this could last for a couple months to prepare the battlefield here. But hitting these mobile launchers and the resupply lines will keep Iran's ability continuously being strangled to enact chaos around the globe with their ballistic missiles and their drones. So there you go, guys. B-2s doing work, striking down hardened targets in Iran in a new phase where they're actually now going to strike the production facilities and production capability of ballistic missiles for Iran. So where do you think this new phase takes us? How long do you think it's going to take to prepare the battlefield for what comes next? What objectives do you see as most important right now? Really appreciate you guys watching. Go ahead and join the Max Ready Room. Click the link in the description. I'm doing a live pretty much every day, so join the Max Ready Room. I do priority replies to the members in that Max Ready Room, and then follow me on X, follow me on Instagram. I'm posting there pretty much every day. And then just watch this next video that pops up right here. That's pretty much the best compliment you can give me. Just watch this next video. This is Ryan, also known as Max Afterburner, signing off. Oh, and remember, grab Urban Heat with my link or this QR code and get that STA4 blueprint plus cash exclusive before it disappears. The link's pinned at the top of the description and in the comments. Let's roll.